Hello, class. This is Dr. Brian Lippincott, your professor, and we're talking today about family therapy and child and adolescent therapy. And a big part of that is couples work. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about couples therapy, and especially a couple. I'm the author of the book, Analytical Psychology and Family Therapy, Neo-Jungian Practice to Help Families Find Flow. And as part of that book, I will say my best child and adolescent therapy outcomes have become couples therapy. And that's because a lot of times in life, there's a triangle and the parents are threatening a breakup or having tension in the relationship, and that they triangulate in the child. The child becomes the identified patient, and in order to keep the parents together unconsciously. That's how unconscious process. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the couples therapy of Sally and Mike, which I have a previous video about Sally and Mike and Batman and Belle. So we're going to go into that a little bit and explain that a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me- Okay. So recording right now. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now. Very good. And let me stop share. Okay, so now we're going to share my screen and we're going to get going on the lecture. Okay, let's start. So, analytical psychology and family systems, the alchemical journey of the couple. So, this is about the couple of Sally and Mike, two people, and their daughter is Tammy, who these were the family I dealt with in my book. Okay, the interactive field is meant to contain the processes two people can experience as their own unconscious dyad, like a force dyad, as an intermediate realm between spirit and matter. That's Nathan Swartz Salon. So that's what happens in the mystical union of a couple and how they come together. And this is based on the work, my work, the work of Brian Lippincott, analytical psychology and family systems, Neo-Jungian practice to help families find flow. So let's move on here. Let's talk about this couple. Okay, you are not an AI. The psyche is not an algorithm. These are human beings we're dealing with. Human beings are messy. They're different. That's what couples are. So we don't want to get caught in the linearity trap. Historically, therapy treated patients as broken machines. Take my car and fix it. Take my kid and fix it. Problems were as intersubjective bugs in the code of a single person to be fixed, recoded. But that's not how we look at it now. We look at things much more universally and connected in a relational field. Now, the systemic reality is relationships are living, rhizomatic systems. And Jung always talked about the rhizome, which is that all that the web of life underneath a forest. It's all the um, uh, roots and the depth and all the fungus and all the things that are interconnected that communicate, and the forests actually communicate with each other now by sending messages to every tree. If one tree's getting sick from not enough water, the other trees will get the message and kind of send some water that way. We move from linear causality, A cause B, to circular causality, the pattern we are in. So that's what we're dealing with in a family, is circular causality. I approach somebody too hard and too quickly and they back off, and that makes me approach them hard and they back off. We get into these vicious cycles. And this is an alchemical process of transmuting the system. And the key thing, the relationship in the field are coming together at the root level. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. So you're not an algorithm. I'm a man, not a machine. There was an old show called The Prisoner that they had that in. You might want to look it up online. The prima materia, the prime materia, the shit that everything is made out of. A case study of Sally and Mike. Now, Mike is a really good guy, a pastor. His archetype is Batman and the Emperor. His typology, which we have another video where we talk about that, is extroverted thinking. He's out there, he's extroverted, he's outgoing, he's giving talks, and he's a minister, he's a thinking type. Everything has to be organized and directed in order. He's cruelly caring. That's his core trait. I will fix this with a plan. He's always trying to fix things, and which is common for sometimes in couples for us men, that we're always trying to fix the other person, but the other person doesn't need to be fixed. In the dynamic, he's the pursuer. He demands structure. Now, the pastor's wife is Sally. Her archetype is Belle from The Beauty and the Beast. She's the high priestess. She's introverted and into herself and a little bit shy, and she's a feeling type, which is not really about feelings as much as it's valuing. She knows the difference between right and wrong, and her core trait is she's had to suppress her power and stuff herself down as part of being the minister's wife. Okay, I will judge this by my values. Everything is value oriented, and when her values are hurt, she knows she's right and will eventually stick up for herself. The dynamic is she's the distancer. She withdraws for peace. Okay. Now, the anatomy of the psyche. This is John Beebe's, the famous Jungian analyst from San Francisco, John Beebe, my good colleague and friend. I've studied with him for like 30 years. He has developed an 8-factor model of your typology, where everybody has a main type. Like for Mike, it's extroverted thinking. For Sally, it's introverted feeling. For me personally, I'm extroverted feeling. So that's kind of a mixture of both. But the hero, the heroine, that's your main type. And then you have a secondary auxiliary type, which is usually your father or your mother. It's the parenting type that takes care, it's more developed. Your third type is your second auxiliary, but it's kind of undeveloped. It's kind of like a child. And then your fourth type, that's your anima or your animus. And what you'll see over and over again is in this couple, the anima and animus and the hero are flipped for each of these people. And Sally's really the opposing personality to Mike. It's a little bit trickier than that. But the anima or the animus is like, I fell in love with my wife across the room because she represented my anima, my inner feminine. I projected on her, and that's what I fell in love. Now, in the unconscious shadow side, the ego dystonic side, we have the opposing personality. So that's Mike's hero is extroverted thinking. So his opposing personality is introverted thinking. It's still thinking, but it's introverted. And then we have a witch part of, or a cynic, the wise old person, but it's in the unconscious, critical, freezing force of that. Okay. The trickster is the eighth of, and then the weakest of the farthest down, our most unconscious part of ourselves is the daemon. The daemon is our deepest wound. So that's the opposite of our anima. So for Sally, her heroine is introverted feeling. So extroverted thinking is her anima. Okay. Extroverted feeling is her opposing type. So you see how it goes in that cycle. And what we'll see in this is that because of the unique style of their relationship, Sally and Mike are the father and the mother, father and the child of each other. So, and we'll see that in a second. But we want to look at the relationship in a couple sometimes of these two, because that will describe, when we project our mother if I project the mother onto my wife, and that's not maybe the most sexually inducing thing that can happen. So we want to think about that. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so let's go to the next one. the light of day, the hero and the parent archetypes. These is our main type, and most people have an auxiliary, which is their parent that takes care of them. So for Mike, the hero is extroverted thinking. Like Batman, he relies on rationality and technology to control chaos. That's the emperor. Now, his second is introverted sensing. That's his second one. Okay. Okay, now introverted sensing protects through tradition, detail, the contemplative silence of the chapel. He's introverted into himself and he's sensitive. He's all about the details and into his own sensation, his own body, that kind of thing. Sally, she's the value. Mike is the structure. Sally is introverted feeling, judges the world by an internal code of values and harmony. So she's not the queen as much as she's the high priestess as an archetype. And her parent is extroverted intuition, which is the opposite of Mike's parent. Like Maurice, she's like Maurice in The Beauty and the Beast, the candlestick. He nurtures through possibilities of what could be. He's looking for the future. He's extroverted intuition. He's able to kind of predict what's going to happen in the future. Now, the child and the anima, the third and fourth parts. For Mike, the child is extroverted intuition, impulsive, creative. That's like Robin. The traffic symbol, that's his child, the traffic symbol for acting, Robin, who's extroverted intuition. He kind of does see the future. Okay. Holy smokes, Batman, something's going to go wrong. That kind of thing for Robin in the old Batman. The anima is in the fourth place. That's the opposite. That's his feel. So Batman's anima, that's introverted feeling. Uh-oh, that's the same as Sally's main one. So they're both anima and animus of each other. That's why they fell in love so deeply and so quickly, but that can cause problems. So hidden need for connection, Batgirl. That's Batman's soul image. Now, Sally, her child is introverted sensing, nostalgic, physically sensitive, grounded in the body. And her fourth is extroverted thinking. Okay. There's the third. So if you look, extroverted sensing is Mike's introverted sensing is Mike's second. So his parent and her child are the same one, introverted sensing. Okay. So the fifth function. Now we're going into the unconscious, the shadow's gate, the opposing personality. The fifth function for Mike is the Joker. When the plan fails, he becomes cynical, detached, scheming, operates in the underworld, devising ruses. That's the Joker. The fifth personality, fifth function in the unconscious for Sally is the beast. So locked into a dynamic presentation of caring, overwhelmed by others' emotions, losing her sinner, leading to rage. And the final is the opposing personality, the other that opposes the hero. So that's the fifth function. So it's the Joker for Mike, it's the beast for Sally. Now, the sixth function in our unconscious is the witch or the synex. That's the feminine or the masculine wise person. The witch is actually a positive thing. Witches in the Middle Ages were the ones who knew all the medicine. They knew where all the plants were and how to use the willow bark and this tree and that tree. And they were oppressed. The witches were oppressed by the medical establishment because they were the ones who the witches could actually heal people when doctors were failing and putting leeches and stuff on people. So the critical parent casts a spell of silence. For Sally, it's the enchantress. For Mike, it's a rigid dogmatism that crushes spontaneity. So you can see these unconscious parts of their personality. The trickster, the agent of chaos who traps the other. That's the double bind that we put people in. This is the freeze here. Mike is introverted intuition. That's the Riddler, paranoia, seeing patterns that aren't there, and he's trying to control all these patterns. So he has the that paranoid side. He's always looking out for what people are doing wrong. He's projecting on his daughter that she might get pregnant, all that stuff. Sally. For Sally, it's Gaston, the impulsive acting out, manifests in the family as the emo daughter acting out. That's what Tammy does. Okay, that's the trickster archetype. Okay, now here we have the incestuous class, cross-firing of archetypes. You see here, and why is it incestuous? We'll get to that in a minute. But if you see Sally's parent, Mike's parent is SI, introverted sensation. That's the details of how your own body feels, and that's your sexuality. And these are cross-firing with her child. See, his parent and her parent and his child. His child is uh, extroverted intuition, thinking about the future and planning and being intuitive about what's going to happen, predicting the bad things that are going to happen. But that's her parent, that's his child. So their parent and their child are in different are totally cross-firing with each other. That's the clash of the archetypes in their unconscious that as a therapist we really need to bring that out. This is from John Beebe's theory here of because he brings together the archetypes with typology. So the core insight, just think about this for a minute. Who wants to sleep with their parent? Nobody. That's a taboo. The dynamic, they unconsciously trigger a parent-child dynamic. Imagine how that impacts the sexuality. Mike tries to parent Sally's vulnerability with structure, and Sally tries to parent Mike's creativity with ideas. Result, extreme tension and the death of Eros, the love god. That love is drowning in this cross-firing of archetypes. I hope you can see that. I hope that makes sense. If not, you can, in the comments, you can ask me questions, or in the class, you can ask me questions. Now, circumambulation, circling the center. That's what Jung always did, just like the walls of Jericho. In order to bring down these walls of defenses, we've got to circle this thing and blow our horn over and over. And as we circle around the couple, couples are very difficult to deal with. So you have to know that you have to go around and around in the circle in order to get there. And so moving from linear causality, you did this, so I did that, to circular causality. The pattern we are in are both trapped in this same pattern. The temenos, that's the sacred container, creating a safe container. That's what the therapy had to provide, is that safe temenos, that safe egg, that safe container to hold this all together. If you're going to take a bomb, if you're going to defuse a bomb, you're going to put it in a big box with all this stuff around. Take it way out in the woods so if it blows up, nobody gets hurt. The goal to contain the ego in the greater dimension of the self, the capital S self, not the small s self. So we need to circle around this couple, which is the many sessions over and over to talk about typology and externalize these problems and talk about the parent and the child in each of us. The alchemical stages of healing. Now, in alchemy, we start at the base material. The rejected stone is the stone I will build my church upon, as it says in the Bible. So we start off with the Nigredo, the blackening, confession and shadow work. They both have to come clean with each other, face the Joker and the beast inside of each of them. Then we start to lighten things up. We have the birth, purification, distinguishing the partner from the projection. You're pulling back all that shit that you projected onto them and realizing that's your stuff that you took inside, that you projected on your partner. Then we start to develop some wisdom, developing a wise old man and woman within, this centritas, the yellowing, the bringing out the golden color starts to becoming gold, and then finally lead to the blood, to the Rubedo, which is the wholeness, the return to life with passion, that blood passion, that chemical, alchemical wedding. That's chemical. That chemistry is back. That's what we had. That was the healing process, going from the really dark loss into the light, and then into the gold, and then finally into the red. The return of Eros, the return of love. integrating the logos from Mike into the connection from Sally. The shift, Mike moves from rigid logos thinking to integrating Eros feeling, learning to feel the connection of love that he has there. He's got to learn how to talk. Hopefully he doesn't have alexithymia, which is another thing I wrote about, so he can talk about that. And we have to, if he does, we have to use different techniques in order to move him towards that. Sally moves from passive feeling, the introverted feeling, to integrating power, her extroverted thinking, which is what she had projected on Mike. She has to take back that projection that she projected on Mike, reintegrate the projection. And Marie-Louise von France wrote a great book called Projection and Recollection in Fairy Tales. She gives an examples from all these fairy tales where people reject out part of themselves, and the healing comes from taking that angel back in. Sally moves from passive feeling to integrating power of extroverted thinking, picking up the sword of authority. They are different typologies, not problems to be solved. They're different types of people. And now we have the participation mystique and the subtle body, the whole resolution of this through therapy. We have transference, going to countertransference, projection, and recollection of the projection, bringing it into the third body, which is the couple. The therapist has to deal with both of them as a couple and bring that third together. The personal unconscious and the collective unconscious of both people have to merge together. The participation mystique means they can develop this unconscious identity with one another, and they move into flow with each other, which is participation mystique was criticized because of Jung's racism sometimes, and looking at and thinking of that as a lesser way of being that indigenous people had. But really, we know that now. We know that that's the flow state, that the indigenous people were really way ahead of us Western people. The field, an intermediate realm between spirit and matter, the we relationship honors the I, the big I, the capital S self. The alchemical wedding, differentiation. And this is Kintsugi. This is that Japanese, this is a symbol of that Japanese, which is the symbol of healing for the couple. The Japanese symbol is when something breaks, they put it together with gold, which is a super magical alchemical thing. But you see how it gets gold and it actually makes it more beautiful, that something can break and be transformed. So differentiation of self, the breaking, the ability to be in emotional contact with others, yet still autonomous. And the transformation, the relationship is stronger because it was broken. The lead of the shadow is transmuted into the gold of the self. I am what I choose to become. That's a quote from Jung that I have really internalized. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. This was hopefully a good lecture for you, and I hope you give comments and feedback about this lecture. And I hope this is helping you understand the Jungian and depth psychological aspects of couples counseling and how it impacted this one particular case. And hopefully you can understand Jung's typology in a deeper way also. Okay, thank you very much.